It is March 8th, 2026, and I thought I would just do a little talk here on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we just experienced on February 20th, and really what that means and what that cycle does. It's approximately a 36-year cycle, and it ends in different signs or different degrees, so it produces a different style. But in general, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction deals with the idea of Saturn, which is it's a pattern of structural limitations within time and space. It's like laws. It's okay, this is how we need to form this. All right, that's Saturn. Neptune is sort of the infinite, the eternal, we can call it spiritual. It's like the undefined substance of everything. So you take the undefined substance, put it into definition, okay? That's why it's ever changing when these two touch. So it's how can we do structure in a different way? That's kind of what it's saying. And of course, it's constantly repeating. So the idea is that it's evolving, changing, and growing. Now, when you do that, so it's wanting to bring the infinite, but what it does is Neptune goes down and sort of dissolves the structure that exists, right? So it sort of overwhelms, dissolves it so that it can reconstitute. That's sort of the concept there. So what we have, and again, it's every 36 years, and again, you don't always get these total resets or anything like that. You just get, all right, this thing falls away and now we're moving into this one, or that falls away. So you can actually go through and you can see, like, you'll see a lot of people mentioning the last one, which was in 1989. It was literally 4 days before the fall of the Berlin Wall. 4 days before. And then we see the fall of the Berlin Wall. Again, structures, the wall. I mean, that's like a beautiful example of the Neptune Saturn. And now we just had it, and we have the attack on Iran and the removal of the Ayatollah, which, again, had brought some, the idea of order. So it's an order that is being brought to a people. And you're like, is this good order? Is it bad order? You know, I guess those are ways to talk about it. I don't really like that. It's sort of like, is this an effective working order, or is it not very effective? That's really where I go more to, is the effectiveness of something, and does it really work? So you go back. So what I did was I went back. I wanted to look at, let me look at some of the older ones that might tie into what we're doing now. And you really have to go back to 1773. All right, so 1773, you ended up with a Virgo, 19-degree Virgo is what you ended up with, the conjunction. And in the 19-degree Virgo, you have the 222nd vibration, or it's called the passionate social designer. And this happens to be a relentless pursuit of excellence, where precision and adaptability merge to create a unique form of mastery. So you can think about the things going on in 1773, and one of the major events that happens in 1773 is what we in America famously know as the Boston Tea Party. So there's an attempt to tax the people on their tea. And so they're trying to extract, the system that's being used is the attempt to extract more money for something that they used a lot, tea, of course, very popular thing. And again, this is just the tipping point of something, but you see the pushback on that system at that time. So this is, again, back in 1773 when the conjunction happens. And some of the negatives here when you see that is, despite their intellectual capabilities and generous nature, the individuals can struggle with a desire for freedom that sometimes manifests as disdain for social or societal norms and codes. The criticism can be harsh, and their outspokenness may alienate others, especially if not tempered with diplomacy. All right, so this is literally, again, just the definition out of the book here, not even looking at the idea that this is going to be talking about the 1773 Neptune Saturn conjunction, but that's where it took place, describing it actually quite well. Now, in my system, I use what's called a circuit. And so a circuit is 4 degree points. That is the evolution or movement of the energy. So that's the way the energy moves. So this one begins in Virgo 19, then goes to Leo 29, the law of comprehension, all right? And Leo 29, what you're looking at there, let's see here. So Leo 29. Oh, that should be right here. There we go. So it is the embodied creative vision. And the vibration is driven by the need to establish a strong, expressive, and enduring identity. It carries an innate push to assert oneself with confidence and shaping a legacy that reflects deep personal truth. With intense self-protection, it requires balancing creative force with structure, and it pushes toward self-realization. When unbalanced, the vibration may struggle between self-assurance and external validation, leading to either excessive ego-driven pursuits or the hesitation in fully owning one's power. There can be a tendency to rely too heavily on external recognition, making confidence dependent on perception rather than inner worth. So, one of the things with the Sabian symbol in this particular degree is the stage at which intense feelings or intuition rising from the unconsciousness is about to take form as conscious thought. So this is it's a Leo 29, Taurus 19, and it deals with the idea of that which comes from sort of almost the moon type energy, where you have something rising in that sea coming into conscious awareness that you were not aware of before. So that's the second move beyond the base. So you take the base, then you move into the what's called the Stasia, or the Leo 29. Next is going to be Leo 4, and finally you end at Gemini 18. So this is, and you can see this all on my website. I have it all listed there. So you can see how it's moving towards an expression. And it moves towards this Gemini 18. And the Gemini 18 is, let's see, the peaceful, committed connections. And it's a Gemini 18, Aquarius 6. And it's driven by an unwavering need for peace among people. And it's manifested through a concentrated focus on fairness, stability, and safety, and a readiness to make significant sacrifices, even risking their lives to achieve these ends. They possess inner strength and excel through sacrifice and commitment. So the reason why I'm reading this one a lot and sort of looking at what is the energy dynamic that's going on is when you're dealing in 1773 and you're dealing with structure, this is the energy that's happening. That's breaking down some of the past and then moving into this new energy that ultimately wants to bring a peace. It can fight against things, but ultimately it wants peace among its people. And this really is where you're dealing with the very foundation of the United States. So it becomes quite significant into what the attempt is to do. Now, within any form, you have an energy and you're trying to, how do we best hold this? How do we best create peace? How do we best do this? And you'll see throughout the world, everybody has their different ways of doing it, okay? That's what it is. I don't say, oh, this one's right and this one's wrong. It's like, Well, this one's more effective. This one's less effective. This one grants safety, but does it at the cost of peace and kindness. This one grants freedom, but it does it at the cost of safety. So you're wanting to find what is the best, most sort of fighting the fine lines between things that really is effective, that people have a certain contentment. Now, nothing remains forever. So it doesn't matter whatever system you come up with, it won't last. It will run its course, and eventually it'll be something that you'll want to grow out of. But you still go through the changes. You still try, and you still like, what are we valuing? Are we valuing more peace and safety right now, or are we valuing more freedom and the ability to express and be creative? So again, it's not where one's right and one's wrong, but you do see timings on things. And this is kind of where we're going really right now, as far as sort of what we're looking at, what we're wanting to examine. So you have all these different conjunctions. Again, looking at that 1773, you have 1809, you have 1846, 1882, 1917, 1952, and 53, 1989, and then 2026, and then we'll see it again in 2061. Well, some of you listening might see it again. I won't be seeing it again in 2061. But that's where we are. That's where you see these happening. And some of the, again, the really interesting ones, and they really are fascinating when you get into them. One of the things I could see is that we were going from a monarchy system, an imperial monarchy system, is where a lot of these things begin. So when in that 1773 one, the Virgo 19, it's coming out of empire. It's coming out of monarchies and empires. And so there's a desire to express an individuality. They're preferring that really over safety at this point. They want freedom, they want expression. And so that's where you're starting to begin. And you see it ripple all throughout the world, but especially, of course, with England and what became the United States. You see that rising very strongly. And the U.S. becomes a real sort of arrow and lightning point for that concept. And so it's really interesting as we sit now today. We're in the process in Iran of returning the son of the monarch, the son of the king, all right? And he wants to lead the transitional government into more of a democracy, okay? So it's very interesting that we've come to the end of that sort of cycle where we sit right now at Aries 0 degrees at sort of a brand new beginning. And we're seeing one come in as the son of a monarch. He's not necessarily coming in as the monarch, as it were, but he's coming to lead the transition into the next phase, which is very interesting because it fits with the sort of the energetic pattern there. The other thing that was sort of really interesting was let me see here. Because you're dealing 1846, you deal with the structure of empire, how it's laid out. And again, I've got a lot of the notes on the website if you want to go through that and read it. It's not even the full note. It's kind of long, but it's not even the full thing. There's a lot more to it. I mean, you can get into the weeds on this stuff. Like, it gets so detailed into sort of how the energy flows. But I'm trying to give you an overall thought to sort of see how these energies work. And, I find it very fascinating. You see, even in the 1882, which is a Taurus 17, and how from that you even get Zionism. So I find that a lot of what we end up moving to is the isms, communism, Marxism, materialism. We come into the isms as to how to structure society. Okay, that's really what it is. And, people can hammer all they want on communism or Marxism, and it's sort of proven that it doesn't really work. But when you read it, it's beautiful. I mean, it sounds wonderful, okay? It's just when you try to play that out, it typically doesn't really work very well because everybody isn't the same. And that really is the issue, is everybody isn't the same. And they don't view life the same way. They don't think of it the same way. They don't want to work the same way. They want different things. Nothing wrong with that. But as a society, you sort of have to structure or put your borders up. That's the whole concept of what structure is. It's like building a house. You have walls. All right. This is what we hold. This is what we value in this house, i.e. in this country, in all. This is what we value. So it becomes really important what a nation is. The idea of sort of ripping down all borders and just having borders are all fake anyways. They're not real. There's no real lines. Yes and no. Okay. And what I mean by it, in a certain sense, that's true. We all are, in a spiritual sense, it's very true. We all are of one source. But in physical manifestation, it's not true. There is borders, there is lines. In time and space, you have time and you have space. That means there's delineations. All right, and they're important. They're not nothing. They are a part of time and space. It's the idea of clothing. You want it to be a certain color. You want it to fit a certain way. That's all delineation. Just put a sheet on. I mean, that's okay. You're covered. But that's not sort of how we operate. We understand what borders are. I mean, music, fine. Without border, you're just like hitting keys randomly. It doesn't really matter. That's all music. Well, no, it doesn't work. Like it sounds, you can see when it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound beautiful. It's not appealing. Like you want it to have a certain form. You want it to have borders. Okay. So, so you have the 1953, you have this one in a Libra, and it's Libra 22, and it's that reflective pragmatic insight that's going on. And this is like, again, you have Zionism coming up at this point, the embodied in the state of Israel and everything there. And people have a lot of thoughts on that. And again, I write a whole thing on it on the website, which there is no panacea, there is no answer, and there is no boogeyman. There is no, they're the ones doing everything. No, it's just not how this works. All right. Everybody is trying to find their expressions, trying to find their forms, what works, what doesn't. And nobody's better than anybody else. It doesn't mean they don't come up with systems that work. Okay, they do for at least a time. There are groups that have shown certain systems that work really well. They're quite effective. They will not hold forever, though. No system does. It's always made. That's why we have these points every 36 years. There's made to be movement. There's made to be change. That's the way it works. All right. You have the 1989, which, again, this one's mentioned a lot. And the 1989 is Capricorn 11. It's the innovative thought pioneer. All right. So if I go there to Capricorn 11, which if you have this book, it's page 320. So, and it's a Capricorn 11, Virgo 20 is the Elias quantum point. It's the 130th vibration. It's called the innovative thought pioneer. And the vibration blends structured ambition with sharp analytical insight, forming a mindset that seeks mastery over complex ideas. The energy here is leadership and the ability to structure transformative ideas into tangible outcomes. Individuals with this vibration thrive when applying their insights collaboratively. So ensuring that their visionary thinking benefits both personal success and group progress. So despite their many strengths, the vibration can lead to difficulties due to mental restlessness and a tendency towards impatience and abruptness. There's a risk of becoming overbearing or intrusive in the pursuit of positions of trust and authority, and the forceful, aggressive approach to gaining and maintaining position may result in conflicts and disregard for others. So you have here is the refinement and propagation of aristocratic values by means of which man participates in the evolution of life toward even more perfect forms of existence. Okay, so that's what you have. That's the energy dynamic that's there. It's a Sun-Mars. It's a focus and determination. And this was the setting of the stage for the fall of the Berlin Wall. So this is when Neptune and Saturn conjunct in this dynamic, in this energy. They come together, and this is what they end up producing. This is what manifests on the earth, is this innovative thought pioneer energy of Capricorn and Virgo. Very earthy, very practical. That's why there's literally a physical tearing down of a wall. That's very Capricorn Virgo. So you also have the beginning of the post-Cold War, the international system here, the expansion of global markets. This is when the isms really begin to take off, okay, at this point in 1989. Now, what I thought was interesting is that you'll hear a lot of people refer to what's happening in Iran as the, is this their Berlin Wall? And it's very interesting because astrologically, that is exactly where we go to. There was only a 4-day difference between the conjunction and that wall coming down. And so you're like, wow. And people recognize, and what they're doing is they're recognizing the energy pattern. They're recognizing the process and how it manifests in possibly Iran, what's happening in Iran. And that's, again, they recognize it, they say it, and astrology, it not only backs it up, it says this is what you can expect. You can expect these type of events. All right, now where Saturn Neptune is the same, but now we're in 2026, we're in 0 degrees Aries. All right, that's actually very different because these particular vibrations, they take you through a stage. This one goes through Capricorn 11, Sagittarius 14, Scorpio 16, and Virgo 20. That's what we've been living through the last 36 years. We've been living through the stages of this energy. The last one being the caravan of cars headed to the West Coast. Now, isn't that interesting? The last stage is everyone going to the West Coast, everyone going west. How many people have been flocking into the United States over the past, what would we say, 8 years or so? Yeah, it would be about 8 years. So over the past 8 years, how many people have been flocking in? A lot. It's been an issue. And this is what you have. This is that Virgo 20. All right. So, and that, the Virgo 20 is called the perfection-seeking community, right? The perfection-seeking community. And it's a Virgo 20 with a Virgo 30 quantum point here. And the vibration fuels the drive for structured progress, ensuring that ambition is met with precision and an unwavering focus. It thrives on the balance between seeking better opportunities and the discipline required to see efforts through to completion. There is a deep awareness of how long-term vision and meticulous execution must work together, allowing for sustainable growth and the mastery over one's chosen path. All right. So this is the energy of this Virgo 20, where this particular energy. This is where we've been. Now, the negative aspects of this energy, or the shadow side of the energy, is the predisposition is to disputes, quarrels, coupled with a constant state of alertness and provocation. It may lead to a life overshadowed by melancholy and fraught with conflicts and misunderstandings. The defensive and confrontational stance can result in strained relationships and a sense of perpetual unrest. Does any of that sound familiar to the last, let's say, at least 6 years, 6 to 8 years? All right. Does any of that sound familiar? So really what you have is the need for cooperative effort in reaching any new world of experience. That's what you need. Now, why the shadow? Okay. Shadows come into play, one, typically at the end of a dynamic, at the end of a period, which we are in. Okay, but it doesn't have to be in the shadow form right now. But also because America has adopted an ism that is not who she is. And what she has adopted is materialism. That's what she's adopted. And people want to talk about capitalism as the problem. Not really. I would challenge that concept. It's capitalism, but when you have a base of materialism. That's the real problem, is materialism. That's what tends to destroy the capitalism. All right? Capital isn't the problem. It's everything. We value the material world and not the sort of inner spiritual, you might say, or the connected reality of society. We don't value that. Again, the energy is the perfection-seeking community, not individual, the perfection-seeking community. That's the idea. How we're driving for that. That's where I think we've kind of gotten off a little bit, and why we deal in the shadow forms, why we deal from quarrels and disputes and defensiveness and confrontations. All right? Now, if we have really moved into materialism, who are we going to have lead us? Are we going to naturally vote for a non-materialistic leader or a materialistic leader? You get the leadership that you're living, okay? So, there will be people that would, I don't like, yeah, you say you don't, but you probably do, okay? We have to recognize where we are. And people will think, well, I'm very spiritual. Maybe not. Maybe you're not as spiritual as you are. Maybe your spiritualism is just materialism. And I see a lot of that. There's a lot of books out on it too. Well, not a lot, but there are some that deal with the spiritualization of, or the materialization of spirituality. You'll see it in a lot of churches. You basically have come to the whole system of churches being more, well, they're franchises now, and they serve a certain kind of package. That's what they do. All right. You'll have spiritual things that they serve a certain idea or ideology, and it's really not about a cooperative. It's not about getting along. It's about getting along as long as you're doing what I want you to do or what I think you should do. That's not what community is. Community is going to involve people who think very differently. They don't all think the same way, except for one thing, and that's that they really desire to be a part of a community. And so that's why you have to clear away a lot of the things to say, all right, what is really our foundation? Now, coming to where we are now, at 0 degrees Aries, this is like a new start, and it is like, so unlike these other energy patterns, You see them move through. We started off with this particular energy in Capricorn 11 back in 1989, and we end in Virgo 20. That's the movement, okay? And where Virgo 20 is the perfection-seeking community, it starts in Capricorn 11, which is the innovative thought pioneer. All right, different. It works. The vibrations. It's about structured ambition with sharp analytical insight, forming a mindset that seeks mastery over complex ideas, while maintaining adaptability and creative problem solving. It begins with discipline and a goal-oriented approach. Again, you have thought ideas, you have vision, you want to approach. Sometimes we marry this so far that we won't change. We marry a thought and we won't leave it. And so you never get your perfection-seeking community in pure form. You get it in shadow form because you're not manifesting Capricorn 11 in the pure form. You're overplaying that. That's why it moves to Sagittarius 14 is the Stasia. And the Sagittarius 14, what it says, all right, is the practical intellectual endeavors. What do you start with? You deal with this, we're going to get the right thought. Now, we're going to get the right thought, but it has to be practical. All right, and this blends intellectual curiosity with precise analytical refinement, fostering individuals who turn broad ideas into structured, lasting contributions. Okay, so it takes these broad ideas, let's make them practical. And then you go to the nexus, which is Scorpio 16. All right, the next movement is Scorpio 16, which is, let's see. Scorpio 16, the reflective collaborative openness. Reflective collaborative openness. So this should have been taking place, the collective collaborative openness should have been happening starting about 16 years or so ago. Yeah, we should have been entering that phase from about 16 years ago. So if we're dealing with 2026, you're dealing with what, 2010? So yeah, we should have been going from about 2010. No, is that it? 2020? Yeah, 16 years, 2010. So around 2010. And all the way for the next to about 2018 or so. 2010 to 2018 is when we should have been the reflective collaborative openness. That's when that should have been playing out. And what that is that embodies a joyful, inspired approach to life, blending deep, appreciative for meaningful connections with a readiness for new experiences. Individuals influenced by this frequency are naturally expressive and find beauty in simple things. They have a contemplative nature and they bring insight and depth to their work. On the negative side, if it's not going well, individuals may become overly cautious, tense, guarded, or defensive, hindering their ability to fully engage and collaborate with others. They can be susceptible to disease and disgrace. One learns from the things they suffer. So it's about learning through suffering. It's about, understanding that. That's all a part of it as well. But it takes on a far more contemplative nature and allows them to bring insight and depth to their work. So we're at Scorpio 16, which is the reflective collaborative openness. The vibration embodies a joyful and inspired approach to life. All right. Deepening or blending deep appreciation for meaningful connection with a readiness for new experiences. Individuals influenced by this frequency are naturally expressive and find beauty in the simple moments. They thrive in collaborative efforts. They balance warmth and sincerity with a sense of adventure and creative vision. They have a very contemplative nature and allows them to bring insight and depth to their work, while their openness to inspiration ensures that their pursuits remain fresh, dynamic, and full of potential. So we should have been doing this around the years 2010 to 2018. So if I look real quick, let's see, specific events and leadership in 2010 to 2018. All right, let's see what we got going on. So one of the things with this energy too is it's the fervent reaching out on the part of the young at heart to new experiences. So it really is a matter of there's a certain innocence that's there. You can learn from the things you suffer. That's a part of this dynamic. But it's also like a very openness to like potentials and possibilities. So here you had 2010, 2011, the Arab Spring was going on. That would exactly be this type of energy, okay? That would definitely be that. You had in 2011, Osama bin Laden was killed, all right? Okay, that was Barack Obama at that point. You had Xi Jinping consolidates China, Russia takes Crimea, ISIS declares a caliphate, and then you have Europe's migration crisis that begins. Again, you have the as we talked about, it's going to go Virgo 20 as the caravan's heading west, so you can already see that. And then 2016, it basically ends with the election of Donald Trump. So really we're looking at probably Barack Obama's period when he was supposed to be there, which was supposed to be a very reflective, collaborative, open sort of thing. Something that you can kind of see that wanting to happen there. But, and probably history will dig into why, there were things not going on. Now, I don't know if this is going to end up playing into Epstein or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know, but it could. Like, we needed that reflective, collaborative openness to move into a positive manifestation of the Virgo 20. Because we needed to move more away from materialism into really American meaning, all right, what it means. And that didn't happen, okay? I mean, we can look back now and see that did not happen. Whether it happened or not, we would still have an Aries 0. There would still be sort of a reset, no matter what, because we're transitioning into a new phase. So, was a lot of the negative aspects of the Virgo 20 energy avoidable? They were, but only if the preceding ones were manifested properly. That's how it goes. You have to have like the whole energy, because what happens if you don't is it loops back. If you don't do it, it loops back. It won't pass it by. So right now, what we would need in order to fix it, we would need collaboration and openness. We would need that. And that is definitely not on the table right now. It's zero collaboration, I would say. As far as within the United States. Outside, yeah, it seems like there is, but inside, no. So, again, you don't want to demonize sides. That's not the way this works. It's like we're all in this soup together, and we have to figure out what is needed and then do it. That's what you do. What's needed, let's do that, okay? So, here nor there on that. That's where we sat in 1989 till the present. We moved through that energy. All right. Now, at the present, as of February 20th, 2026, we move into 0 degrees Aries, which is relentless self-realization. All right. So this is now, and there's no movement here. The base, the stasia, the nexus, the light are all Aries 1. It's one energy. It's crazy, okay? So this is very self-oriented. If you thought we were moving into, right now, this collective kumbaya, we're all in this, that's not what we are. Now, I'm not going to say this is like bad. It's not. That's not the way this works. All right. What it wants to do is it wants to clear away, and it wants to get to the very foundation of things. So it begins with identity. It's like, okay, who actually are we? We have to ask these kind of questions. Who are you? You have to, like, who are you? Who are you? What do you value in sort of structures and systems? And it's one thing to say, well, I personally do this, but I want the country to do that. Well, that's a bunch of bull. Okay, you will live your values. That's the reality. So if you say one thing and do another, that's really not that's not the energy you're in. So you have to live your realities. Okay, so it's like, you may be one that says, yeah, I don't really want borders. That's not true. That's a lie. Because you don't understand what borders are. You live in time and space. You have borders. Okay, that's a fact. Now, how you want to, what is the purpose of a border? A border protects a way of life. That's what it does. It doesn't say that way of life is no good and this is good. It says, this is my way of life. That's all it's saying. This is the way. And for a country, it's saying this is the way we choose to live. We choose to value freedom over safety. In America, that's a reality. That's the very foundation. We choose to value freedom over safety. In other countries, it's not that way. They choose to value safety over freedom. It's not right or wrong. It just is, okay? So you sort of have to, like, what are you? Who am I? What do I value? All right. The Stasia, it's like you're going to move through and it requires a certain vulnerability. So one of the things with, like, the 0 degree Aries, which is a very powerful, like, it's very powerful. It's the idea of the emergence of new forms and the potentiality of consciousness. All right, that's what it is. There's the emerging of new forms. Now, we all know that with AI coming and the technology, new forms are coming. Like, how we've lived life, how we've done it's going to change dramatically. Will this be difficult? If it's change, it'll be difficult, because all change is difficult. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means, wow, it's change. We're going to have to learn something new. We're going to have to do these things in a different way. And for the next, really, 36 years, this is where we're going to be. Now, a lot of it is going to come into play with Taurus 11. So Taurus 11 gives a little more sort of depth or understanding about some of the dynamics that happen during this Aries 1 structuring. All right? But the one thing that I'll tell you about Aries, the 0 degree Aries structuring of Neptune, it's not formed. We're going to choose, okay? So it's not like, okay, we're going to twist this or move this a little bit or change. No, this, like, when you'll hear other astrologers talk about it, this is a restart. It is a restart. Like, this is like, okay, new. Now, you don't forget the past. It's not a matter of forgetting the past. It remembers the past. But it's not completely bound to it. It's not forced to it. It can choose it, but it's not forced to relive the past, okay? But it does have to deal with its issues. So if you have a problem with people who don't think like you need to deal with that, like, or it's going to be an issue for you. That's kind of what that means. Okay, so we go to Taurus 11. Because Taurus 11 is sort of describing some of the energies we'll be passing through, which is called the creative individualistic passion. And the vibration embodies a passionate blend of artistic mastery, originality, and unconventional self-expression. Individuals with this energy thrive in creative freedom, rejecting restrictive norms in favor of the bohemian, self-directed path. The focal point is the power of emotional intensity and raw creativity, the integration of this passion into collective and futuristic ideals. They exude a magnetic mix of sensuality and visionary thinking, often challenging traditional structures in art, relationships, and personal identity. The greatest strength lies in balancing their raw instinctive power with adaptability, allowing them to integrate their bold individuality into collective movements. The cultural evolution, learning when to assess, control, and when to let go is the key fulfillment and success. There can be a tendency towards superficial satisfaction and wasteful worry about petty concerns. These individuals can struggle with adapting to necessary conditions, leading to frequent disappointments. A recklessness or extravagant use of their energy can prevent them from focusing on more deserving causes. And in some cases, they can exhibit stinginess, scheming tendencies, or a susceptibility to flattery that leads to poor decision making. All right. So now, if you can't read in that some of the social media and the internet, okay, that's what I tend to see. Is like, wow, you can see some of those things playing out. But this is all about this next 36 years here, about the development of the powers of the mind on the ego consciousness, which the ego consciousness really is based. Okay, so when sometimes you'll see in certain circles, ego is such a negative thing. It's not. It can be, but it's not just a negative thing. It's the sense of self. Who am I? You need to know yourself to be yourself. Okay, and that's what ego is. It's a sense of who you are. What is my role here? What is my confined role? I'm bordered. Okay, I have a name. I'm not just anybody or anything. I am a male. I am an American. That's where I come from. I'm a contractor. I'm an astrologer. Like, these are things that I have worked on, and these are things that I work to master. This is my contribution to the society. Okay. I'm a husband, a father. These are sort of things that you look at and you do. That's the sense of ego. This is me. All right. Is that the totality of me? No, I also have spirit, and I'm connected to everybody else just like everybody. Okay. That's another way of looking at it. You don't want to get the idea of the two confused, where I'm only these things, but understand this, you have a role to play. You are bordered. You have a name. You have a designation. Play in time and space. That's what happens. All right. So this is really about discovering these kind of things and to see how you, as you are, can fit in with everybody else. That's a lot of what this time period is going to be about over these next, again, 36 years. What's going to be happening? That's, interesting. So, you've got that. What would I say? Integrity becomes a big thing. That becomes a big thing. Be you. That's a very big thing right now. So what'll happen is in 2061, which is the next Neptune Saturn conjunction, it will be in Gemini. It'll be about communication. It'll be about thought, about understanding. Are we going to be making a lot of mistakes over the next, to 2061? Yep. Just like we did before. Okay. Are we going to be moving towards a better union? I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. That's the idea. But are we going to make mistakes along the way? We are. We're going to make mistakes along the way. Is this the end of the world and the end of society? And then no, it's not. Okay. So people who want to this is the end, it's over. Or is this the panacea of, it's a restart, now everything's going to be perfect? No, it's not. That's not the way this works. Okay? Um, it's, yeah, we're going to be moving to a different manifestation. We're going to be going through different structures, new structures that we haven't used before. That probably have, well, they will definitely have never been exactly this way on Earth. We're going to find a way to be different in society. We are. Are we going to be more united? No, we're actually not. We're going to be more uniquely individual. You're going to see bigger differences with nations. Now, that doesn't mean we won't be united in, hey, you're unique. I like the way you cook. I like the way you do that. You're good. Okay, that's who they are. Are we going to see, oh, like, oh, is a good investment now in something like McDonald's where you franchise the same thing all around the world? No, it's not. That is not the way we're moving. We are not moving towards everything being the same. That is definitely not, that's not the movement of the future. The movement of the future is far more uniqueness, far more individual expressions, and societies that elevate individual expressions, that celebrate the uniqueness, where you see such a mass difference between the state of Florida and the state of Georgia, where there's a significant difference. To the state of California, to the state of, like, there's significant differences. And yet we still can determine to all get along, but not try to homogenize everything into one thing. Like, well, we all do this and we, not so much, you know. Let's say one state wants to elevate the education of how to work with the earth, and that's what they're going to be special with. Why? Because they do a lot of farming there. So they want that. Great. Instead of, oh, no, everybody has to learn this and everybody has to, that's not really where we're going. That doesn't seem to be the way. We're going to be moving in a different way. Are we going to be moving there tomorrow? No. We take steps. But this is where we're going. So, am I hopeful for the future? Oh, extremely. Like, why would you not be? You know, am I wanting to play my part? Oh, I am. Absolutely. Why do you think I'm working on all this astrology stuff? You know, I want people to celebrate their uniqueness. I want that. That's how you're built. That's where you're going to be most content. And that's really what I want. I want people to find purpose and contentment where they know their life really had meaning and purpose, and it affects those around them. Does it have to affect the world? No, it doesn't have to affect the world in the totality of things. But if you can affect your community, that's wonderful. And maybe your community's your church, or maybe your community's your neighborhood, or it's this group or that. That's wonderful. Wherever you fit and whatever role you fit, you do that. You know who you are, be who you are, and that'll be the most wonderful thing. That's more where we are going. How many people work in corporations and they feel so dissatisfied because they feel like they're a cog, that anybody else could come in and take their role, that their uniqueness isn't appreciated, celebrated, or used. Okay? That's going to be going away. We're moving away from that. We are moving into creative expressions. That's definitely sort of the movement of the structured future. And right now, the challenge is know who you are. And that becomes so important. Understand your children, know their uniqueness, and try to support that uniqueness. Now, does that mean they don't have defined roles? No, they will have defined roles, okay? I mean, we can go so far to where, well, I'm not going to do anything for the child. I'm going to let them discover everything. Well, that doesn't really work that way. You have to give them certain definitions, and they build off of that, and they move from it. Sometimes you have to have something to push against, you know? So taking people down the wrong path isn't a bad thing, okay? It's taking people down no path, that's a bad thing, okay? You got to take them down a path, because then they can choose. If you take them down no path, they don't know how to choose because they've never had to, all right? So you don't want to do that. But, you know, give space for people to learn. So the future, exciting, yes. Um, and hopefully you kind of got at least a few of the ideas of what I'm sort of looking at as we look at where we're moving and the structures we're going through, and as we look at places like Iran or Israel or all the other things that are out there in society right now. Do we want this to come into play? Do we want, maybe we need more Marxism. Maybe we need more communism. Maybe we need more capitalism. Maybe we just need to find out who we are and be who we are. Maybe that's what we need. Instead of the things of the past, trying to rework them and make them work, that's probably not where I would see us going. We've had our time to try all those. That's what the last couple hundred years has been. We've tried them, okay, and well, really up till now, nothing has exactly worked. All right, so you kind of have to start there, both sides. Like from a political point of view, you have to start. Nothing has exactly worked. All right. So let's get back. Let's figure out who we are. Let's figure out who we are as a nation. All right. There are things. Who are we exactly? And once we can come to an agreement on that, and that's really what to tell you the truth, that's what these next 36 years are going to need to be. We're going to need to get there. Would I like to get there in a year or two? Yes. Do I think that's going to happen? Oh, not even close. Okay. Not even close. But do I think we'll get there? I do. I think we'll get there. I think we'll get there. I think this time is going to help us really discover who we actually are. And then we're going to figure out how to be that. So any questions, feel free to ask. I ramble. I don't have any real notes here. I'm just using the book and, I got my structures. So again, hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to really ask any question at all. Like, I love questions. I love to look. People are fascinating. So enjoy and really just be you. Thank you.